Welcome to Archive Whispers, a place to fall asleep. Settle in, lower the lights, and let the archive open.
Tonight, the place we are going to visit sits high in the mountains of the central Andes, on a shoulder of land where the air is thin and cool, and where the last of the daylight is already leaving the valley below. It is an ordinary evening many centuries ago in a small town of the people we have come to call the Inca, though they themselves would simply have called this the ordered world, tended and kept, stone by patient stone. We are not going to watch anything happen. Not really. There will be no battles, no emperors, no turning of great events. What we will do instead is settle into one quiet town as its fires are lit, and let the evening pass at its own unhurried pace, the way evenings did long before any of us were here to notice them, and the way they will go on long after. I should say, before we begin, that much of what is known about these mountain towns comes to us carefully and with gaps. From the Spanish chroniclers who arrived in the 16th century, Pedro de Cieza de Leon foremost among them, and from later historians and archaeologists, from Terence de Altroy to John Murrah, who have spent their lives reading the terraces, the walls and the knotted cords. Where they are uncertain, so are we. And on a night like this, there is no trouble at all. So there is nothing here you need to hold on to. No dates to remember, no names to keep straight. If your attention begins to drift, let it drift. If your eyes begin to close, let them close. The town will go on lighting its hearths and folding its cloth whether or not you are still listening, and the wind will go on moving over the terraces all the same. If you can, lower the lights wherever you are. Let the room around you grow dim and a little cool, the way the mountain evening is growing cool around the town we are about to enter. Find whatever is most comfortable, settle your shoulders, and let your breathing slow to match the slow settling of the valley into night. And now, while the sky over the high valley fades from pale to deep, and the first threads of smoke rise from the stone houses on the slope, let us walk up the last of the path together, slowly, without hurry, and step into the town just as the evening settles over it. The path levels as it reaches the edge of the town, and for a moment we simply stand and let the place arrange itself before us. Low houses of fieldstone and packed earth, their roofs thatched thickly with mountain grass, follow the natural lines of the slope, none of them straight, all of them settled into the land as though they had grown there. The air is cold and clean, and it carries the smell of smoke and damp stone. Above the houses, the mountainside rises in long curving steps. The agricultural terraces that the people here have built and tended for generations. Each terrace is held by a wall of fitted stone, and each holds a level field of dark earth, and together they climb the slope like the contour lines of a patient hand. In the failing light, the terraces are emptying of workers, the day's tending done, the soil left to the cold of the coming night. A llama train is being led down the last of the upper path, the animals unhurried, their soft padded feet quiet on the stone, their long necks turning now and then toward the houses below. Their packs are lighter now than they were at midday, the loads of grain and dried roots already delivered to the storehouses, and they move with the loose, easy patience of animals that know the way home in the dark. At the heart of the town there is an open space, a level square of beaten earth and stone where the lanes gather, and where in the daytime the work of the town spills out into the light. Now it is nearly empty. A few low benches of stone sit along its edges, worn smooth, and the wind moves across the open ground unhindered, lifting a little dust and then setting it down again, as though the square itself were breathing slowly in the cold. Along one side of the square stands a building finer than the houses around it, its walls made of large stones cut and fitted so closely that no blade could pass between them. This is the work of skilled masons, and it belongs to the order of the wider realm, a place of stores and administration. Its single doorway is shaped like a tall trapezoid, wider at the base than at the top, and the same patient shape is repeated in the niches set into its walls. The light is going quickly now, the way it does at this altitude, the sun dropping behind the western ridge and taking the warmth of the day with it. The sky overhead is still pale, a clear and fading blue draining slowly toward indigo, but the valley below has already filled with shadow, and the cold comes up out of that shadow and settles along the lanes, so that the smoke from the hearths seems to hang lower than before. From the doorways, one by one, the warm glow of fire begins to show. A hearth is being fed inside this house, and then inside the next, small orange lights kindling along the slope as the families gather in from the terraces and the storehouses and the paths. Each glow is low and steady, nothing bright, just enough to mark where a household has drawn together for the evening against the deepening cold. We pass a small spring at the edge of the lane, where water has been led from higher up the mountain through a channel of carved stone, and where it falls now into a shallow, worn basin with a soft and constant sound. A woman has filled her vessels here and gone, and the water continues without her, patient and cold, sliding along the stone groove that the masons cut for it long ago. The houses here are simple and well made. Walls of stone set in earth, a single low room or two, a doorway hung with woven cloth to keep the warmth in, and above it all the deep thatch of mountain grass that sheds the rain and holds the heat of the hearth. There are no windows to speak of, only the doorway and the small gaps that let the smoke find its slow way out, and so the inside of a house at night is a close and shadowed place, lit only by its fire. Higher up, beyond the last of the terraces, the open mountain begins, the rough grassland where the herds graze by day and where the wind never quite stops. Up there the light lingers a little longer, catching the pale grass and the gray rock, and a few alpacas still move slowly across the slope, their breath showing in the cold, before they too drift down toward the shelter of the walls below. The wind that moves through the town at this hour is not a harsh wind, only a steady one, the long exhalation of the high country as the land gives up the warmth it gathered through the day. It moves through the dry grass on the terrace edges and along the lanes and around the corners of the stone walls, and it makes a low and even sound that the people here have heard every evening of their lives, so constant that they no longer hear it at all. Across the valley, on the far ridges, the snow peaks hold the very last of the light, glowing faintly pink, and then gray as the sun finishes its setting somewhere beyond them. The people of the town look to those peaks with respect, for the high mountains are old and watchful presences in their world, the keepers of the water that fills the springs and feeds the terraces, and on an evening like this, the peaks seem to lean a little closer in the cold, clear air. The storehouses stand a little apart, round and well-built, set where the wind can pass through them and keep their contents dry and cool. Inside are the gathered goods of the season, the maize and the dried potatoes, the wool and the woven cloth, kept in good order against the months ahead. The town does not worry much about the winter, for the storehouses are full, and the keeping of them full is one of the quiet certainties around which the evenings here are arranged. Somewhere down among the houses, faint and thin and almost lost in the wind, comes the sound of a small reed flute, a few slow notes rising and then falling away. It is not a performance, only someone passing the last of the light with an old and simple tune, the kind that everyone knows and no one remembers learning. The notes drift up the slope toward us, and then are gone, carried off over the terraces into the dark, and so the town settles toward its evening. The terraces are dark and quiet. The square is empty. The springs run on alone, and along the slope the hearth lights hold steady in their doorways. The day's work is finished and put away, and the night is only beginning, and there is nowhere any of us needs to be. Let us go in, then, out of the wind, and sit for a while by one of those fires, and see how the evening passes inside. Inside, the house is warm and close and dim, and it takes a moment for the eyes to settle. The hearth sits low on the packed earth floor, 3 stones set to hold a clay pot above the coals, and the fire itself is small and well tended, more glow than flame. The light it throws is soft and orange and unsteady, reaching only a little way up the stone walls before it gives out into shadow. The smell of the place is the smell of the fire and of what is cooking over it. Wood smoke and warm earth and the starchy comfort of boiling potatoes. A clay pot holds the evening's stew, potatoes and a handful of dried meat softening in the water, with a little salt and a few small fierce peppers for warmth. It is plain food, and there is enough of it, and that is all anyone here asks of an evening meal. Around the hearth the family has gathered, settling onto woven mats and folded cloth, drawing close to the warmth as the cold deepens outside. They sit without hurry, the way people sit when the work is done, their hands loose, their talk low and easy and unimportant. No one is in a rush to eat, and no one is in a rush to sleep. The evening is long, and the fire is warm, and for now that is enough. Along the wall, in their low pen of stones, the small guinea pigs of the household move and murmur in the warmth, drawn as everyone is to the edge of the fire's heat. They are part of the house, kept for the feast days that come now and then, and on an ordinary night like this they are simply there, a soft and constant rustling at the edge of the room. Another small life sharing the warmth against the cold outside. On a flat stone near the fire, a handful of maize kernels is toasting, turned now and then so they do not catch, swelling and browning in the heat until they split open with a soft, small sound. Toasted this way, the maize keeps for days and travels well, and it is eaten by the handful at any hour, plain and dry and good. The smell of it, warm and nutty, mixes with the smoke and fills the little room. The potatoes are the heart of the meal, as they are the heart of almost every meal here. There are many kinds grown on the different terraces and at the different heights, some small and waxy and some dry and flowery, some kept fresh and some preserved through the cold nights and the daytime sun into a light, storable form that will last the year. Tonight they are simply boiled and lifted steaming from the pot and passed from hand to hand. There is a gourd of maize beer passing slowly around as well, thick and faintly sour, brewed in the larger pots and shared the way such things are always shared. A little is poured first onto the earth of the floor, a quiet offering to the ground that gives the food, a gesture so old and so habitual that the hand makes it without thought. And then the gourd goes on around the circle in the firelight. The talk by the fire is the talk of the day just past and the day to come. Which terrace needs turning, how the upper field is drying, whether the herd should be moved higher while the grass holds. There is mention of a cousin in a town 2 valleys over, and of cloth that must be finished, and of a debt of labor owed and soon to be repaid. None of it is urgent. It is the slow accounting of a life arranged around the seasons and the slope. An older voice tells a small piece of a familiar story, the kind told 100 times before, about the mountains and the first fields and the ordering of the world. The younger ones half listen, having heard it before, and the telling is unhurried and a little drowsy, the words falling into the warmth of the room. It is not really a story to be followed. It is a sound to be near, like the fire, like the wind outside. The clay vessels of the household sit in their places along the wall, dark and round and burnished, each made for its own task. Tall ones for storing grain, wide ones for cooking, small ones for keeping salt and dried peppers and the few precious things. Their surfaces are simple, marked here and there with a band of painted pattern, worn smooth by handling, and in the firelight they hold a soft and steady gleam. From the doorway the cold leans in whenever the cloth stirs, a reminder of the night beyond the walls. But the fire holds the room against it, and the bodies gathered around the fire hold it too, and the thick thatch overhead keeps the warmth from rising away. It is a small and well-defended warmth, this circle of light on the floor of a stone house high in the mountains, and everyone within it knows its worth without ever needing to say so. A child has fallen asleep already, leaned against an older shoulder, a half-eaten potato still loosely held. No one moves to wake the child or to send anyone to bed. Sleep comes when it comes, here, and is let to come. The conversation drops a little lower so as not to disturb it, and the fire is fed one more small piece of wood, and the evening settles another notch deeper toward the night. The bowls are wiped and stacked, the pot set aside, and the last of the stew is left covered near the warm stones for whoever wakes hungry in the night. These small orderings happen almost without notice, the habits of a household that has done the same things in the same order through countless evenings, each motion known, each thing returned to its place, so that the room can be left at last to the fire and the dark. Outside, the wind goes on as it has all evening, and now and then a stronger gust finds the doorway and makes the fire lean and brighten for a moment before it settles again. The sound of the wind and the sound of the fire are the two sounds of the night here, one low and constant and far, the other near and small and alive, and between them the people of the house drift slowly towards sleep. There is a particular quality to a room lit only by fire. A way the light moves that is older than any lamp or candle, a slow flicker that the body knows and trusts. Shadows lean and recover along the walls, the warm glow rises and falls on the faces turned toward it, and the eye, having nothing sharp to fix upon, grows soft and heavy. It is the oldest invitation to sleep there is, and the people here have never needed any other. We can leave them there for now, settled and warm and unhurried around their small fire, and step quietly back toward the door. There is more of the town to see before the night is fully come, other windows where the work of the evening still goes gently on, and the cloth over the doorway will fall closed behind us without a sound, keeping the warmth and the firelight safe inside. In another house along the lane, the fire burns just as low, and beside it a woman is still at her loom, finishing the day's small length of cloth before the light is gone. The loom is a simple and ancient thing, its near end tied to a post, and its far end held by a strap across her back, so that she leans away to draw the threads tight and leans in to let them ease. The cloth grows slowly under her hands, a finger's width at a time. The wool she works with came from the alpaca on the high slopes, sheared and washed and combed, and then spun into thread on a simple weighted spindle, the kind that turns and drops and turns again, a motion the hands here learn so young that they make it while talking, while walking, while watching the fire. The thread is even and fine, the work of long practice, and it holds the dye well and lasts for years of wear. The colors in the cloth are the colors the land gives up to those who know how to ask. A deep warm red drawn from small insects gathered on the cactus pads, browns and tawny golds from roots and barks, a soft green, a muted blue, a black that is nearly the color of the night outside. The dyes are set in pots over slow fires. The wool turned and lifted and turned again, and the colors that result are quiet and deep and do not fade. The pattern she weaves is not invented but inherited, a design of small repeating figures that runs along the band in ordered rows, each one carrying a meaning that the people here read as easily as the shape of the mountains. Where a person comes from, what their household is, the place they hold in the wider world. All of this can be spoken in cloth, quietly and durably, woven once and worn for years, so that a garment is a kind of patient sentence about the one who wears it. She pauses to fasten the cloth she wears with a long pin of polished bronze, its broad, flat head catching the firelight for a moment. The metal is precious and well kept, worked by smiths who know how to mix the copper and the tin and pour it into shape, and a pin like this may pass from a mother to a daughter across a lifetime. She turns it once in her fingers, sets it, and goes back to the loom, and the small bright gleam of it is gone again into the work. Across the small room, near enough to the fire to see by it, an older man sits with a bundle of knotted cords spread across his knees. He is one of those who keep the accounts of the town, and the cords are his record. A fall of colored strings hung from a main cord, each string knotted at intervals that stand for numbers, the colors and the positions, and the kinds of knots all carrying their meaning to the trained hand and eye. He runs the cords through his fingers slowly, reading them, checking the season's tally against what he holds in his memory. So many measures of grain brought into the storehouse, so many lengths of cloth made ready, so many days of labor given and still owed. There is no writing here, no marks on stone or skin, and yet the record is exact, kept in the knots and in the long-trained memory of the men who keep them, passed down and added to year upon year. The keeping of accounts is one of the threads that ties this small town to the much larger order beyond it. The great web of roads and storehouses and obligations that runs from valley to valley across the mountains. The town gives its labor and its goods into that order, and receives in turn the security of the full storehouses, the maintained roads, the settled peace, and the knotted cords are the quiet ledger where all of it is held in balance. Near the doorway a potter has set the day's work to dry. A row of vessels shaped from the clay of the riverbank and smoothed with a worn stone until their surfaces hold a faint sheen. They will be fired later in their turn. But for now they only stand and harden in the warmth that drifts from the hearth, pale and unfinished, waiting. The shapes are the shapes the town has always made, round-bellied and narrow-necked, made for carrying and pouring and keeping. These are the quiet crafts of the evening, the work that needs no daylight and no field, the making and mending that fills the hours between the meal and the sleep. Spinning and weaving, the keeping of cords, the smoothing of clay, the sharpening of a bronze blade against a stone, small steady motions done by firelight, done a little and then set aside, picked up again the next night and the night after, until the cloth is finished and the tally is closed and the pots are ready for the kiln. The weaver's hands slow as the light slows. She has reached a good stopping place, the end of a row of the pattern, and she ties off the thread and loosens the strap from her back and rolls the cloth carefully around its stick. Tomorrow, in the daylight, she will see the colors truly. Tonight it is enough to know that the work went well, that the rows are even, that the pattern held. She sets the loom against the wall and turns toward the fire. The old man, too, is finishing, gathering his cords and winding them gently and folding them into their cloth. He handles them the way one handles anything that holds a great deal in a small space, with a slow and habitual care. When they are wrapped, he places the bundle in its niche in the wall, where it has rested every night for longer than he can easily count, and he sits back at last toward the warmth with his work, like everyone's, put away for the night. There is a kind of completeness to a house at this hour, with the day's making done and laid aside, the food eaten, the fire low, the tools in their places. Nothing is unfinished that needs finishing tonight. Nothing is left undone that will not keep until morning. It is the particular piece of work set down for good reason. The body tired in the right way, the room warm, the night long and asking nothing. We leave this house too, slipping out past the doorway cloth into the cold, and stand again in the lane between the walls. The town is darker now than when we entered, more of the doorway glows gone dim, the sky overhead full of stars in the thin clear air, more stars than a lower country ever shows. The cold is sharper, and the wind has not stopped, and the smell of all the small fires hangs over the stone roofs like a held breath. It is worth standing still here for a moment, in the dark lane, and letting the sighs of the night settle over us. The town is a small and warm and ordered thing, a handful of stone houses on a shoulder of the mountain, and around it on every side is the vast cold dark of the high country, the empty terraces, the sleeping herds, the silent peaks, the enormous sky. And the town simply goes on being warm and small within all that, untroubled, as it has for a very long time. There is more to see still, the parts of the town that hold even when the people sleep, the stones and the water that the masons set in place to last beyond any single life. So let us walk on a little, slowly, while the cold deepens and the stars wheel overhead, and look at the bones of the place, the patient stonework and the running water that will still be here, unchanged, long after this particular evening has passed into all the others. The finest stonework in the town is gathered near the open square, the walls of the building that belongs to the wider realm, and even in the dark of the night the quality of it is plain to the hand, if not always to the eye. The stones are large, some of them larger than a person, and they are cut and fitted together so closely, with such patience, that the joints between them are little more than a dark hairline, and no mortar holds them at all. How the masons did this is a matter of long and skilled labor rather than any secret. The stones were shaped a little at a time, set and lifted and set again, the high spots found and worked down, the faces brought together by trial and patience until each block rested perfectly against its neighbors. It was slow work, the work of many hands over many seasons, and the slowness is part of what we are looking at, a patience set into stone and left standing. The walls lean very slightly inward as they rise, and the doorways and the niches all take that same tall trapezoidal shape, wider at the foot than at the head. The people who built this way had learned, over generations in a land where the ground itself sometimes trembles, that such shapes stand where straighter ones might fall. The knowledge is held in the building rather than written down, demonstrated rather than explained, and the walls have kept their place through more seasons than anyone can name. Set into the wall at intervals are the niches, each one the size to hold a vessel or a bundle or an offering, each one made with the same care as the wall itself. By day they hold the small things of the building's use, by night they are simply pockets of deeper shadow in the stone, evenly spaced, patient, waiting. There is a deep restfulness in their order, in the way the same shape repeats along the wall, neither hurried nor varied, like a slow breath taken again and again. Water runs through the town all night. Quietly, in channels the masons cut into the stone and the earth to carry it from the springs above, down through the lanes and out to the terraces below. It is led with the same care as everything else, given a gentle and constant fall so that it never floods and never stops. Dividing where it must to serve the fountains and the fields, gathered again where it can, never wasted, always moving. At one corner the channel opens into a small fountain, a carved stone spout from which the water falls in a single thin clear thread into a basin worn smooth by long use. The sound it makes is soft and continuous, a thread of water noise woven into the larger sound of the wind, and it does not stop for night or season. People come here through the day to fill their vessels. Now the fountain runs for no one, simply doing what it was made to do, patiently, in the dark. Beyond the edge of the town the great road passes, the wide and well-kept way that runs along the mountains and ties this town to the next, and to the one beyond that, on and on across the whole length of the high country. By night it is empty, a pale band of laid stone and packed earth disappearing into the dark in both directions, bordered here and there by low walls, climbing the slopes by long stairways of stone where the land grows too steep to cross any other way. Along that road by day come the runners and the llama trains and the travelers on the business of the realm, and at measured distances stand the small way stations where they rest and where messages are passed from one runner to the next, so that word can travel the length of the mountains faster than any single person could carry it. Tonight the road rests with everything else, but it is never truly closed, and somewhere out in the dark a station fire is burning, waiting. The cold has settled fully now, the deep dry cold of the high mountains at night, and the breath shows white, and the stone is icy to the touch. It is a cold the people here are made for, met with thick wool and close walls and banked fires, a cold that does its work quietly, killing the pests in the fields, hardening the stored roots, drawing the town in upon its warm small centers. By morning there will be frost on the terraces, and by midday it will be gone. The moon has risen over the eastern ridge, not full but bright in the thin, clear air, and its cold, pale light lies along the tops of the walls and the curves of the terraces and the pale band of the road. Under that light the town is changed, drained of its daytime colors, reduced to shapes of silver and shadow, the stone almost glowing, the dark between the houses very deep. It is a quiet and lunar version of the place, beautiful in a still and distant way. Somewhere a dog stirs and resettles, and a llama shifts in its pen, and otherwise the town is given over to its sleep. The fountains run, the wind moves, the channels carry their water down through the dark, and these are the only things still working. The patient stone and water doing through the night what they do through the day, without rest and without notice, keeping the town in order while its people lie warm and unaware behind their walls. The terraces under the moon are a vast and silent stairway, climbing away above the town toward the dark shoulder of the mountain, each level holding its measure of soil and its waiting crop, each wall holding its place against the slope. Generations of hands built them, and generations more have tended them, and they will outlast this evening and a great many evenings to come, slowly filling and emptying with the seasons, patient as the mountain they are cut into. It is easy, standing among all this stone in the cold and the moonlight, to feel how small a single evening is against it. The walls were here before this evening, and will be here after. The water ran before and will run after. The terraces held their soil through 10,000 nights like this one, and will hold it through 10,000 more. The town is not really a thing that happens on any one night. It is a thing that simply continues, quietly, through all of them. The wind has eased a little, the way it sometimes does in the deepest part of the night, as though the high country were drawing a slower breath. The fountains sound a touch clearer in the lull, the water thread bright against the quiet, and then the wind returns, gentle, and folds the water sound back into itself. These small risings and easings go on all night, unwatched, the breathing of a place that never entirely sleeps even when all its people do. We have seen the town now, more or less, as much of it as an evening allows. The terraces and the square, the warm houses and the quiet crafts, the fine stone walls and the running water, the road that ties it to the world and the great dark that holds it apart. There is nothing more that needs seeing, nothing left undone, only the long middle of the night still to pass, and the slow turning of the stars, and the deepening of everyone's sleep. So let us go back down among the houses one last time, out of the wide cold night and into the closer dark of the lanes, and let the evening carry us the rest of the way toward sleep. There is nothing left to look at now, nothing left to understand. There is only the warmth held behind the walls, and the wind over the terraces, and the long, slow settling of a small town into the deep middle of its night. And so the town lies sleeping now, all of it, the houses and the lanes and the square, the warm rooms and the cold stone, settled together under the same dark sky. The fires are low, the doors are closed, the people are dreaming or not dreaming behind their walls, and over all of it, slow and even and unhurried, the wind moves across the terraces as it has moved all evening, as it will move all night. In one house the last ember settles in the hearth, sinking a little deeper into its bed of soft gray ash, glowing and dimming and glowing again as the air stirs over it. There is no one awake to tend it now, and it asks for no tending. It will hold its small warmth through the night on its own, slowly, patiently, fading by the smallest degrees toward the gray of morning, and the room will stay warm enough, and the sleepers will not stir. And the water goes on running. In the channel beside the lane, in the carved stone groove that the masons cut so long ago, the water slides down through the dark toward the terraces below, cold and clear and quiet, dividing and falling and gathering, never stopping, never hurrying, the same slow thread of sound it has been all evening, woven now into the deeper silence of the sleeping town. Above the town the stars turn, slowly the way they do, wheeling over the dark shoulder of the mountain through the long hours of the night. The thin, clear air shows them in their thousands, faint and bright together, a great slow river of them crossing the sky, and they move so gently that no one watching could ever catch the motion, only know by morning that it had happened, that the night had turned while the town slept. And the wind, again, moves over the terraces. It comes down off the high grassland where the herds are folded for the night, and it crosses the empty fields one level at a time, stirring the dry grass at the wall edges, sliding along the lanes, finding the corners of the stone houses and going around them, soft and steady and old, the same wind, the same sound, the long, even breathing of the mountain in the dark. There is nothing more for the night to do, and nothing more for us to do but stay a little while in its quiet. The town needs no watching. The ember will hold, the water will run, the wind will move, the stars will turn. All of it will go on exactly as it should, without effort and without attention, through the long dark hours, just as it has through every other night that has folded over this small place on the shoulder of the mountain. If you are still awake, there is no need to be. Let your eyes close now, the way the doors of the town are closed, gently, against the cold. Let your breathing slow to the slow running of the water, to the slow moving of the wind. There is nothing you need to follow any longer. No part of this you need to keep. The evening will hold itself together without you, soft and slow, through the whole of the long night. And the ember, again, glows and dims in the dark hearth, sinking lower into its ash. And the water, again, slides quiet and cold down through the carved stone, and the stars, again, turn slowly over the black shoulder of the peak. And the wind, again, moves soft, and even across the empty terraces and around the sleeping houses, on and on, asking nothing, changing nothing, simply going on through the deep middle of the night. The hours pass without marking themselves. The moon crosses a little further. The cold deepens and then, near the very bottom of the night, holds steady. The frost settles soft and pale along the terrace walls. Nothing hurries, nothing wakes. The town drifts in its sleep the way a boat drifts on still water, going nowhere, perfectly at rest, held by the dark and the cold and the long patient turning of the sky. Far off, so far that it is more felt than heard, the wind carries the faintest thread of an old simple tune again. A few slow notes from somewhere down among the houses, rising and falling and fading into the dark. Perhaps someone could not sleep. Perhaps it is only the wind itself, finding some hollow in the stone and sounding it. It does not matter. The few soft notes drift up over the terraces and are gone, and the quiet closes again behind them. There is nothing left now but the quiet and the cold and the slow turning of the dark, and there is no need to stay awake for any of it. The town is safe. The night is long. The wind moves on across the terraces, soft and even, and the water runs on through the carved stone, and the last ember holds its small warmth in the ash, and everything is exactly as it should be, and there is nothing at all that you need to do. So let yourself go down into sleep the way the town has gone down into the night, slowly, easily, without holding to anything. Let the wind carry the last of your thoughts off over the dark terraces. Let the water take them quietly down through the stone. The evening is over now, and it did what evenings do, and there is nothing more. Only the warm dark, and the soft wind, and the long, slow, untroubled rest of the high mountain night. Sleep now. The town is sleeping, and the mountain is keeping it, and the wind goes on, soft and slow, over the terraces, all through the long night. Rest now. There will be morning, and frost on the fields, and smoke from the hearths again, but that is a long way off, and none of it needs you yet. For now there is only the dark, and the quiet, and the wind. Sleep well. This has been Archive Whispers.
You've reached the end of tonight's archive. If you're still awake, thank you for staying. And if you drifted off somewhere in the dark, then it did its work. Rest now. The next chapter will be here when you are. Sleep well. This has been Archive Whispers.